All right, shalom, shalom. First one, give all praises and honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the Most High God. Yahweh Shai is the Son of God. The true names of the Most High and His Son. Again, Yahweh is the Most High. Yahweh Shai is the Son of the Most High. The true names of the Most High and His Son. Right, in this lesson, it's going to be concerning being humble, being lowly. Right, because blessed are the poor in spirit. Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, it says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So if you are humble, man, that's a great thing, man. You are blessed. Because pride is a strange and filthy thing. And yeah, that's the highlight of this video. Lord willing, this video is edifying. Start over this lesson. Let's get, bear with me. Especially, really, this for you brothers that, you know, that's in this truth. Because when you come to this truth, man, you gotta be a junior, if you will, to your fellows. Especially when you new in this truth. You have to be in junior. You know, you have to, you know, show yourself lesser than the other. You gotta be humble, man. You gotta esteem your brother more than you. Higher than you. Right? We can't have that, you know, oh, I'm greater than you mindset. I'm higher than you. I got more understanding than you. I'm more chiefest, if you will. We can't have that type of mindset, man. Let's get Matthew chapter 20, verse 25. Matthew chapter 20, verse 25. It says, but Yahushua called them unto him and said, ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them. Yeah, because in this world, there's hierarchies. Right? You know how you have, you know, those that are in power, you know, leaders, rulers, they exercise, you know, authority over the other. Right? They put others down and they exalt themselves. They give commands and stuff like that. You know, it's a hierarchy in this world. It says, ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. Right? So, it shall not be so among us, man. We're not supposed to be like that. There's no hierarchy in this thing, man. We're all brothers, man. We're all working the same field. We're all going to receive a penny, man. There's no hierarchy. There's no, you know, one over the other, if you will. Right? All have sinned and come short. All have felt, all have, you know, come short, if you will. You know, all, you know, is like a filthy rag. You know, man drinketh iniquity like water. So there's no reason for you to exalt thyself over the other. It says, verse 26, it says, but it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. See, if you great, right, especially when you in his faith, when you in his ministry, if you great, you got more understanding, or you got riches, power, you know, anything that, you know, seem to be great in you, if you will. You have to be a minister. Right? So when you go into that word minister in the Latin, it goes into ministry or ministry, Salaki if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Which when you go into that word ministry, that Latin word ministry, it means inferior. So be inferior. It says, let's read verse 26 again. It says, but it shall not be so among you, but whosoever be great among you, let him be your minister. So if you great, man, be the minister, or be inferior to others, man. Be a servant, which ultimately translates to being a servant. Right? That's what a servant is, inferior. So be your fellow brethren servants, man. Right? And this thing, like I said, in the beginning of this video, man. You come into this ministry, you come into this faith, man. You gotta be every brother's junior. Right in the in the mafia, if you will. The beginners or the new ones, they're everyone's junior, man. They don't talk back. Right? They don't freely speak, if you will. They're quiet. And that's in all reality in this thing, you gotta be like that. Don't talk back unless unless you're rebuking or reproving, unless it's a righteous thing to talk back. But as far as pride, anger, strife, hey, don't talk back. Right? Don't cut people, don't enter into people conversations. Don't cut a man when he's speaking. Right? Be a junior, man. Have some form of being a servant, if you will. Right? Which when you go into that word inferior, it goes into less. To be less. Right? So in your mind, you have to see yourself as being less than these other brothers, man. Right? Because a servant ain't gonna, freely, cut into another man's conversation, man, when that man is speaking. So that's the type of characteristics we have in this thing, man. Right? Acknowledge, especially acknowledge others' brothers, other brothers' experience, man. Which even when you go into that word ministry, it goes into servant. That word ministry, that Latin word ministry, is from the word minus or minus, which goes into minor. Minor means less. Right? So be less, man. Esteem yourself less than the other Israelite, man. Than the other people in the ministry, than other people in the faith. Ain't no hierarchy in this thing, man. Ain't no sense of self-dignity, if you will. Ain't no ranks, if you will, man. Right? You have people out there who want to be seen, who want to be top man in the camp. Right? Even I was watching an elder video concerning, an elder in another camp that, died. All this elder did was be behind the camera. Well, a lot of the times he was behind the camera. Right? A lot of the times he was quiet. He tended to his own business. He was quiet. And sometimes we gotta be like that. Sometimes that's a part of being humble. Being quiet. Not being out there, if you will. It'll tell you that David, he behaved himself wisely. David was humble, man. It says, let's read verse 26 again. It says, but it shall not be so among you, but whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. So how, especially for the brothers that's been in this truth for a long time, and another brother come into this truth, you still have to be humble, man. You still have to be his servant. But what that means, being a minister, help him. Servant not going to, seek to do his own thing, but he's going to seek to do the thing of his master. Now, our master is Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai, told us, if whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. So it don't matter how great you is, how long you been in this faith, how much understanding, how much people you got behind you, how much riches you got. Be a minister, be a servant to your fellow brethren. Esteem your fellow higher than yourself. Because that's what Paul did, man. When you go into Paul, he labored more abundantly than a lot of the apostles. You see, when Paul and his labors, all he did was care for the church. All he did was care for the church. He tended to the church like a servant tended or looked to or cared for, the business that was given to him by the master. Right, he says, verse 28. Matter of fact, verse 27, it says, and whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. So be that servant, man. Meaning what? Help. What a servant do, man, is, help, man. Tend to. Be everyone's junior. For example, hospitality. In the ancient days, when they would had guests, if you will, what the owner of the household would bring forth water, food, or make food, prepare food for the guest. That's a humble thing to do. Even in the ancient days, you would have people washing their feet. Washing, another man's feet, man. So sometimes, especially for you brothers that's, fellowship with other brothers, consider this regarding. Sometimes, if you have the ability, bring your fellows, when you out there preaching the word in camps and the highways, bring your fellows some drink, some water. Going back, it says, and whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Verse 28, it says, even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. So sometimes you gotta be, a servant, man. Right? You esteem your brother or your fellow higher than your own self. Just like in the mafia, man. Not just like in the mafia, but I'm using certain things as an example. For example, those, new ones, and, that come into the mafia that probably have not been made yet, all they did was what? Kept the commands and did things that profit the higher ups, if you will. That's all it is, man. When you come to this faith, man, you have to esteem your fellows higher than yourself. And you have to esteem yourself as inferior to the others. That's being humble. Right? Let's get, and I got, a couple of scriptures lined up. But I also wanted to touch on this. Bear with me. I wanted to touch on this. I kind of forgot. But as you can see, this is a screenshot that I screenshotted, which I sometimes have a habit calling, brothers who been in this truth way longer than me elders, And, this was a humble response of a brother. Actually, two brothers had, humble response, that I wanted to touch on. Right, it says, which I said, Shalom, elder. That's all I'm going to read, what I said, because I had a question for him, and this is what he said. Shalom, Akia. I am merely a fellow believer such as yourself, by no means an elder. Right, so that's a humble response. Now I'm saying, yeah, but that's a humble response, man. Right, because even though he the greatest among, he may be greater than me, he still ain't gonna allow himself or rank himself higher than me. Basically, him saying, hey, I am merely a fellow believer, this brother, he's somewhat, that's just a humble response. I'm trying, get an understanding, but he's not making himself chief, if you will, over me. Right, because again, we are all, brothers in this thing, man. Right? Ain't no ranks, ain't no hierarchy. Now, ain't nothing wrong with, calling, an elder. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I just wanted to touch on this. Also, the other brother said, who said I was an elder? I'm just a brother. Right? That's all I want to touch on. But, that's a humble response. And again, ain't nothing wrong with calling, elder an elder. Ain't nothing wrong with acknowledging an elder, if you will. But let's go back to this lesson. And that's, and that take me back to one of the teachings, man. Right? And I think it's in Matthew chapter 21, loosely paraphrased, where, one of the sayings is, well, loosely paraphrased, basically going into, let not, men call you rabbi, which I ain't calling, that's, that word elder is not likened to a rabbi, but stuff like that. But we have only one master, one rabbi, and that's the Lord. That's Yahweh Shai. Rabbi means master, a great one. Right? So we have only one master, and that's Yahweh Shai. And in the ancient days, you will have the Pharisees. They will welcome, they probably welcome people to call them a rabbi or master. See, that's not humble, man. Letting people call you master. That's not humble, man. You even have some camps, I remember hearing it. You'll have some camps let their, you'll have some camps leaders let their camp, call the leader, Lord. That's a hey, that's not a title that you should welcome, man. You should deny that, man. You shouldn't even allow that. right? But let's get Matthew chapter 18, verse 1. Matthew chapter 18, verse 1. It says, at the same time, it says, at the same times, Matthew chapter 18, verse 1. At the same time came the disciples unto Yahushua, saying, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Verse 2, it says, and Yahushua called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, verse 3, it says, and said, verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children. What it means to become as little children, meaning what? Be humble as a child, man. It says, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Verse 4, it says, whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So if you're not humble, man, you're not going to make it, man. You're not going to make it to the kingdom. You got to be humble. So let's read this saying again. It says, whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So if you humble yourself as a little child, which goes back to what I said in the beginning of this video, man, become Thyfellows Junior. Become a junior, man. Become a servant, man. Meaning what? Esteem yourself lower than the other, and esteem your fellows higher than you. You know? Especially for you beginners, man. Especially, you know, you brothers that have been in this zone longer. So be humble as a little child, man. You know, you know, what do children do, man? Children ain't gonna, you know, exalt themselves or give commands. Or personal commands, if you will. Children ain't gonna, you know, butt into conversations, stuff like that. So become everyone's junior, man. Let's get, and again, I got these scriptures lined up. So bear with me while I pull out the next one. Let's go to Philippians chapter 2. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. It says, let nothing be done through strife or vainglory. So let nothing be done through strife or vainglory. Meaning what? Right, strife goes into what? Let's look up the word strife. Right, let nothing be done through strife or vainglory. Right, strife. Lack of agreement or harmony, bitter conflict, quarrel, fight, conflict, dispute. Right, so all that, you know, arguing, all that, yeah, arguing, man, especially for petty things, man, that shit gotta go, man. Any quarrel against thy brother, man, forgive, man. That's a part of being humble as well. Because when you look at these little children, man, and they fight with each other, they quickly forgive each other, man. They're not going to hold it to themselves, man. They're not going to hold it. And the next day, still be angry. Nah, man, they gonna forgive each other right away. So let nothing be done through strife or vainglory. And vainglory is what? Basically, man, wanting glory, man. Empty glory in this world. Like I said, want to be vainglory is what? Wanting to be a top man in the camp. Wanting to be the top man in the ministry. Wanting to be known or something like that. Right, which I touched on the example of an elder that passed, or that sleepeth now. And all he was, all he did, or a lot of times he was behind the camera, and he was quiet sometimes, or from what I heard, and I don't know from personal experience, but from what I heard, they say he was quiet behind the camera, not wanting to, so stop trying to be top man, man. Being top dog, if you will. Chief. Right? It says, let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness. See, which goes back into that word inferior. Or, going back into that word, minor, if you will, be less. Right? It says, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Let's read it again. It says, but in lowliness of mind, meaning your heart and your mind and your thoughts, let each esteem other better than themselves, man. Better than themselves. So you're supposed to esteem your other or your fellow better than you, man. Higher than you. It says, verse 4, it says, look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. That's what a servant do. That's what a junior do. They don't tend to their own things, but they tend to the things of others, man. They care for the things of others. They don't care for themselves, man. In the ancient days, all servants do was care for their master and did the things for the masters, man. It says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Mashiach Yahushua, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God. Verse 7. It says, but made himself of no reputation. Right? You have people out there trying to make themselves, or trying to make themselves reputation, man. A reputation. They want to be known as, swift, understanding. I got the mysteries. They know, dark sayings. They know everything. Right? You have a lot of people like that. It says, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of man. Right? So, hey, humble yourself, man. Let's get 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 24. First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 24. It says, let no man seek his own, but every man's another's wealth. So don't seek your own, but seek your fellow seek your fellow's wealth. Because a lot of us, we care for our own things, man. Care for our own prosperous success. Hey, care for the success of the other, man. So don't seek your own, man. go back to 2 Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. It's Philippians chapter 2. Never mind. Salaki, bear with me. Let's go back to 1 Corinthians and let's get chapter 9, verse 19. So don't let no man give you flattering titles, man. Ain't no hierarchies in this thing. Or amongst the brethren. Ain't no hierarchy. Everyone brothers, man. Everyone a fellow. This 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 19 says this one of Apostle Paul's words. It says, "For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I may gain the more." So Paul, he made himself servant unto all, man. Meaning what? All he did care for others, man. He looked for the others' gain. You know? And there would be times where the Apostle Paul would be traveling, laboring, times where he would have been cold. Right? He went through harsh things, man. But even in the midst of all that, in the midst of all that tribulation, adversity, all he did was care for the church. Or one of the things he did was care for the church, if you will. This 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 1. Let's get 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 22. It says, "Nay, much more those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary." Those men, those believers that are feeble, are necessary. Right? They part of the brethren too, man. They fellows too. It says, "And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor." Let's read it again. It says, "And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable," right? Those men who seem it to be less honorable, right? Who's not probably great and great in understanding, or a chief, not great in understanding, don't really know too much, but they still sincere. Right? Let's read it again. It says, "Upon these we bestow more abundant grace." Salakia. Upon these, I didn't mean to say grace, I meant to say honor. It says, "Upon these we bestow more abundant honor." Bestow goes into put on. Right? So we put on more abundant honor onto these lowly, man. Onto the onto those that seem less honorable. It says, "And our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness." So it's no reason you shall be putting down, man, or esteeming your fellow lower than yourself, man. It says, for our comely parts have no need. It says, but God hath tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to that part which lacked. So those who have, that lacking in anything, whether it's, riches or understanding or anything, or, whether it's knowledge, stuff like that, they're going to be given more abundant honor if they're sincere, if they're a part of the elect. Right, so don't think that you higher or you greater than the other, man. I mean, think back to the Apostle Peter, man. No? How many times did the Apostle Peter had to get rebuked? Not had to get rebuked, but they got rebuked. How many times Apostle Peter got rebuked, man? It says, verse 25, it says that there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another. So you got to have the same care one for another, man. Right? Ain't no favorites in this thing, man. Right, so all you fellow Israelites, care for them, man. Esteem them higher or better than yourself, man. It says, verse 26, it says, and whether one member suffer, all the members suffer with it. Or one member be honored, all the members rejoice with it. Right. Let's get Matthew chapter 23, verse 5. Matthew chapter 23, verse 5. It says, and love the uppermost rooms at feast and the chief seats in the synagogues. And those was, and that's concerning the scribes and the Pharisees. Right, because the scribes and the Pharisees in the ancient days, right, they love, not talking about all of them, but the ones that were now a part of the elect. Right, the scribes and the Pharisees that's not a part of the elect in the ancient days, and they loved the uppermost rooms at feasts, and they loved the most chief or the best rooms, man. They loved the best seats in the room, man. They want to be in that center, if you will. Right, be not like that, man. It says, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men rabbi, which again, going to the word rabbi goes into master or great one. Right, so, that's what they love, man. They love people calling them master. It says, and called, verse 9, it says, and called, matter of fact, verse 8, it says, but be ye not called, Salaki, it says, but be not ye called rabbi, for one is your master, even Mashiach, and all ye are brethren. Right, so, one is your master, man. So don't have people call you Lord. Don't allow it. Don't allow people calling you master, stuff like that. Don't allow people giving you flattering titles or try to exalt you, praise you. Don't allow that, man. Right, says, because we only have one master, and that's Yahweh Shai, man. It says, verse 9, it says, and call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Verse 10, it says, neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Mashiach. Alright, so one is your master, man, and that's Yahushua. Verse 11 says, but he that is greatest among you shall be your servant, and whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. So if you're trying to exalt yourself any type of way, in any type of aspect, man, you're gonna be, or you're gonna be abased, man. It says, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. You know? Let's get Luke chapter 22, verse 24. I'm gonna close out on this. This is Luke chapter 22, verse 24. It says, and there was also a strife among them, which of them should be accounted the greatest. Right? And he said unto them, the king of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. But ye shall not be so. So we ain't no hierarchies amongst us, man. Ain't no greatest amongst us, man. We all the same. We all fellows, man. Ain't no ranks. It says, but be ye not so, but ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger. So if you great, man, be like the younger. And that's why I said, man, be the junior. Be like a junior, man. Be that junior to your fellows, man. Be that younger to your fellows, man. Be that little younger brother, man, if you will. Be that junior. You know? It says, and he that is chief, as he that doeth serve. For whether is greater, he that sitteth at meat, or he that serveth? It's not he that sitteth at meat, but I am among you as he that serveth. Right, so be like, someone that, serveth, man. Which remind me, even ancient days, right? Right, when there'd be guests in the house, if you will. Sometimes, the man in the house, or even the woman, the wife, would, come in and be charitable, have, hospitality. And that's a part of being humble as well, man. Having hospitality, right? And, the woman or the man in the household will come in, sit down, drink for the guests, offer food, stuff like that. And, be quiet. It's really concerned on the wife or the woman. She will offer food, set down food, water, and be quiet. Not disrupt men in their conversation, stuff like that. So that's a part of being humble, man. Just like children, man. Children not gonna, children ain't gonna exalt themselves, man. Not try to be chief, man. They not worrying about that. You have a such thing like a superiority complex. A B, have an inferior complex to extent, if you will, to your fellows. But I'm gonna close off on that. Lord willing, this video is edifying. Double honors to the elders of the house of David. Peace and blessings unto the elect. Salute and shalom to the fellow laborers in his truth. And all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Shalom.